Good afternoon. My name is Robert, and I'm a certified assistant county assessor with the Assessment Review Commission. I would like to thank Legislator Ferretti for inviting me to speak with you today to help you learn how to file a grievance online for free without the need to hire a company to do it for you. At this time, I'm going to turn the microphone over to Legislator Ferretti for a few opening remarks. And Legislator, you may need to unmute your microphone yourself.
Okay, hope you can hear me. Great. Thank you. I'm Legislator John Ferretti. I wanted to just sign on quick and thank Robert Shapiro for holding this seminar. Before I do a little brief introduction, I would ask if anybody watching or participating has any questions for me, if you could please enter them into the chat section at the bottom now. I will be taking some limited questions if you have any on any assessment-related concern for me at this point, at the beginning of the seminar. So once I hand it back over to Robert, that'll be the end of the opportunity to ask questions for me. But of course, you could always email me at jferretti@nassaucountynY.gov if you think of any questions you have for me after the seminar. So again, any questions you have, type them into the chat screen and Robert will feed them over to me before I hand it back to him. So I want to thank you all for joining in on this seminar. Obviously, this is a great opportunity here with obviously everything going on with the COVID pandemic. It's been very difficult to have any type of in-person meetings. Generally, I do conduct, with the assistance of ARC, 2 or 3 seminars on how to grieve your assessment yourself in person. This year, obviously, we can't do that because of the pandemic, and so I'm very grateful to have worked closely with Robert and the employees over at ARC to make this a reality where even though we can't meet together, you can still get the vital information you need to ensure that you take your legal right and grieve your assessment. We all pretty much are aware of what's going on with the Nassau County Department of Assessment at this point. We've undergone, the county executive has done a reassessment along with the assessor of all the residential Nassau County properties. And we see the results of that, new assessments, and the impacts that they've had on tax bills. The first impact was the school tax bill for 2021, which came out in November. And now, just a couple weeks ago, we got our general tax bills in early January. And both of those were impacted by this reassessment. Whether you went up as a result of the reassessment or you went down as a result of the reassessment, these were the first of the tax bills that came out under the reassessment. And in Levittown, for example, and I'm sure most of the participants on here are from Levittown, approximately 70% of residents in Levittown, the Levittown School District, saw tax increases to their school tax bill as a result of reassessment. And so now more than ever, it's important that residents are aware that they have the right to grieve their assessment. It's important that they know how to grieve their assessment on their own. Why? Because when you use an attorney, that attorney gets paid, often on a contingency basis. So if you use a law firm to grieve your assessment and you are successful, that law firm will generally receive, whether it's 40, 50, or 60% of any of the savings that you receive. You're going to see after Robert does his presentation, grieving your assessment's not difficult. It's something that I was able to teach my grandmother how to do, and she is completely illiterate when it comes to technology and computers. So again, I want to thank Robert for taking the time to do this. I want to thank each and every one of you for taking the time out of your day to be on this virtual workshop. And at this time, I'd like to open it up to any questions that the constituents may have of me before I hand it back over to Robert.
Well, right now, Legislator, there are no questions in.
Okay. So thank you, Robert. Like I said, if any questions come up during the course of this seminar for me, you can always email me at jferretti, and that's JFERRETTI at nassaucountynY.gov. Again, Robert, thank you for your presentation. I look forward to it, and thank you all for attending.
Thank you, Legislator. Before we begin, I want to remind everybody to take advantage of a feature of this online event. If you have any questions, please enter them into the Q&A and we will address as many of them as we can at the end of the presentation. I want to remind everyone that there is about a 30 to 40-second delay between what I am saying and showing you and when you actually see it and hear it. And that's why we're not taking questions live. But as the presentation goes on, if you think of a question, use the Q&A feature, put that question in right away, and then we'll address them all at the end of the presentation. So like the legislator said, this is your chance to learn how to file your grievance online without using a firm. Your first step would be to visit our website, which is at askarcnassau.com, and you can see our page right on your screen here. Just to let you know, on the right-hand side, you can see in bright orange, it says ARC 2022-2023 brochure. And we're going to show you part of that brochure right now. What's great about the brochure, it has a lot of the contact information, important links, but one of the most important things that brochure has is the calendar of important dates. Now, of course, at the top, you can see it says January 4th, 2021. Assessor publishes the tentative assessment roll based on value as of this date. And from January 4th through March 1st, that's the ARC filing period. That is when you are able to file your appeal. And the last date to do so is March 1st. So again, it's really important to have this brochure handy so you know all the important dates. And again, it's available, like I said, if you look on the right side of the website, that bright orange link where it says ARC 2022-23 brochure, you can click on that and you can download a copy of this brochure. So we're going to continue now. Again, if you have any questions, put them right into the Q&A and we'll address them all at the end of the presentation. So Arrow is the system we use. It's assessment review on the web. And to access Arrow from our homepage, you'll click on the Arrow tab, which you can see is in bright red on the left-hand side. You can also visit that page directly by going to www.nassaucountynY.gov/ARC/Arrow. So we're going to click on that. And this tells you here how to file an appeal through Arrow. Now, the first thing you want to do is register. Now, if you've registered before, you're still going to want to check your registration. You'll see on the left-hand side where you can check your registration. The reason you want to check your registration is make sure all the information is current. So we're going to use for this example, registering if you've never registered before. So you're going to click on the left where it says register with ARC. As you can see here on the left, it shows you right there. And that's, again, if you don't already have a username and password, you'll click on register with ARC. So you click on that. Here is the registration page. You need to fill out all the asterisk marked spots. So your first name, your last name, street address, city and state, zip code, phone number. In the middle, you can see where it says ARC is now offering the option of receiving electronic or paper notifications for offers and determinations. What that means in English is that we're offering you the chance to be contacted only by email, which is electronic, or if you like getting information and contacted through the mail, you can use paper, and you click on paper and you'll get contacted by regular mail. We strongly encourage you to use the electronic version, the email. It's much faster. Just every so often check your spam filter on your email program to make sure any messages from us are not being considered spam and you're not getting them. So like I mentioned before, if you're already registered and you're checking your information, double check your email address, because sometimes what happens is you've registered and you're working at a job and maybe you've switched jobs, or maybe you were with Optimum Cable and now you're with Fios and your email address switched. So it's very important, double check and make sure you have the accurate email address. After that, you're going to choose a user ID and a password. If you have a problem with your password later on, you can contact customer service. They can give you your password or they can reset it, but try to get a password that you'll remember or write it down in a safe place for you. So once you fill out all the information, you're going to click at the bottom where it says complete registration. And at the top, you'll see it'll say, thank you for registering. Please click to continue. And when you get to the next page, you'll see now that where it says welcome to Arrow, it has John Smith, as John Smith is now registered. Now, if you were done for now, on the left-hand side, you would click log out, especially if you're using a computer that's in the public. Say you're using a computer that's at the library. You want to make sure you log out so no one can do anything with your account. So, also, you will be getting an email that will look somewhat similar to this, but not exactly like this, depending on your email program. You're going to get a confirmation email from ARC, and it's going to go to the email address that you just used to register with. And it's going to confirm that you are registered, that you have a username and password, and that all the information is correct. If there's any problem with that, contact customer service, and we will go from there. Okay, so now your registration is complete. And if you've logged out, or if you're logging in for the first time that day, at the bottom of the screen, you'll see the regular login. And it says user ID and password. So you're going to put your user ID and password and click login. I'm seeing some messages from people saying they're having any problem with sound or the screen is frozen. I'm not getting any word from anybody else that there's a problem with the presentation. We'll have our tech folks double check, but I'm going to keep on going ahead, and you may want to leave and then come back again and see if it's a problem with your own connection. Okay, so now we've logged in, and here we are. Now, the focal point for the presentation is using Sales Locator. It's filing appeal using the Sales Locator. Now, ARC has provided this tool, the Sales Locator tool, to assist you in filling out your application form for residential, 1, 2, or 3 family homes, not for condos. The Sales Locator provides an adjusted sales prices of properties that are comparable to yours, which can help you determine if your property is currently overvalued. To file an appeal with the assistance of Sales Locator, click on the Do You Have a Good Case for Filing an Appeal link on the Arrow homepage, which you see at the bottom of the screen. It's highlighted in red and has a yellow arrow next to it. So we're going to click on that. Sales Locator. So the first thing we do now is we perform a property search by either using the address of your property or the section, block, and lot numbers of your parcel. Now, when you're filling this information out, this is a case of too much info may make it a problem when you do the search. So in this case, the address is 504 Christie. Now, it could be Christie Street or Christie Avenue, but we're only going to put it as Christie. And the reason for that is if you put Christie Street and you spell it S-T-R-E-E-T, and yet the system has it as Christie Street as just S-T, if you try to search, it's not going to find your property. So if you put in the word for the address, but don't put on the end part, you leave off the lane, the street, any of those, you can put the city and the zip code in to help tighten up the search. You'll click search, and your property should appear at the bottom of the screen as you see our properties here in yellow at the bottom. Now, if you don't put the city and zip code in there, and if there's more than one property in Nassau County with your address in different towns, you're going to see more than one selection. You'll have to choose the correct one. So we're going to click on that one, which is ours. Now, a quick note here. When you're using Sales Locator, there's a couple of tips you can find out, and it says before continuing, you click this link, and it'll tell you some tips about attachments and other things that you can do to make this work better for you. We'll go into more detail for that later, but I wanted to make sure you were aware. So we're going to go back to the other screen now, and before you can continue, you'll see this box on the bottom left corner with a couple of letters in it. That's for security to make sure you are a person and not a robot. So you're going to take those letters, you're going to type them into the empty box in the bottom center of the screen. They're not case sensitive, which means you can do lowercase or uppercase. It should be fine. When you do that, you'll click continue. And if everything worked out right, you should see your property. So in this case, our property is 504 Christie Street in Hempstead. As you can see at the top, it's a class 1. It's a residential property, single family. It's located in the Rockville Center Union Free School District. It's not in a village. It's in the town of Hempstead, and it's not on the water. On the bottom left, you see more information about the house. And on the right side, you see more information about the actual market value in the period. We're going to go into more detail on that right now. So On the left-hand side, you will see dwelling information, and you can see that our subject is a Cape. It's built in 1954. The lot size is how many square footage your property is. Living area is how big the house is square footage wise above grade. So if you have a basement, your basement is not included in the living area. So in this case, we have a Cape. So the 1,332 square feet is the first floor and the second floor. Now, according to this, we have 2 full bathrooms, no half bathrooms, a 1-car garage, and yes, we have a basement. Now, if there is any information that's wrong, say you actually have only 1 bathroom in the house, or the square footage is wrong, or maybe you don't have a garage, you can click where it says change values, and then you will have the opportunity to go in there and make changes to the values so they are correct. And then after you've made those corrections, you click apply changes. Now, it's very important to note that when you do this, this is only for the sales locator. This does not change any of the information that's on file with the Department of Assessment. If they have any information wrong, if you have only 1 bath and they think you have 3, you need to contact the Department of Assessment. The phone number is there on your screen, 516-571-1500, and let them know that there's a problem with the inventory they have, that it's incorrect. Because if they think you have 3 bathrooms and you only have 1, well, they're giving your house, assigning your house for 2 more bathrooms than you have, and your house may be overassessed. So it's very important to check that information. So in this case, we're going to go ahead like everything is correct. We're on to the next slide. Now, sales locator, we are to select properties from the sales locator output by clicking on the check boxes in the select column. Now, your property at the top, that's the subject property. That's your property. In this case, it's our property, 504 Christie Street. Now, you can choose up to 5 comparable sales that can be added using the sales locator feature. If you want to use more sales later on, you can do so by adding them into your application. You can't do them with sales locator. You can only use up to 5. Now, I'm often asked at this point, how many sales is the magic number? How many do I need? The golden rule has always been for me that if you can't prove your case in 3 or 4 or 5 sales, 10 sales is not going to help you. 3 or 4 or 5 sales really should be plenty to show that your house has the wrong market value and you deserve a reduction. So it's very important that when you look at these, overkill is not really helpful. 3, 4, or 5 is more than what you need. So in this case, we're looking for sales that are most similar to our house. We're looking for Cape style houses. We're looking for houses that are similar in square footage, lot size. The houses that are closer to you in distance are always good because you're looking for homes that are not only in the same school district, but in the same neighborhood. And that means that if you're perhaps on one side of Hempstead Turnpike, using a house on the opposite side of Hempstead Turnpike may not be considered the same neighborhood. So you want to try to avoid going over any major roadways or public landmarks. All right, so we've chosen 3 here. We're going to click select, check properties, and continue. That's in the bottom left. Okay, so now you can see your property on the left-hand side, as well as the other selected comparables, and they're side by side by side. Now you'll note the adjustments that are made to the comparable properties. That's going to change them from the price they sold for to the adjusted price. And what that means is these sales are compared and contrasted to your home. So if you look at the first sale, which is 508 Stratford Road, which sold for $430,000. Now, if you look, your house has 2 full bathrooms, and this sale on Stratford only has 1 bathroom. So the computer has automatically added $10,000 worth of value to account for the fact that you have 1 more bathroom than that home did. Your house is bigger by around 200 square feet or so, so they've made an adjustment to account for the difference in square footage. We have a garage. Stratford Road, that sale has no garage, so again, we've added value. So while the home sold for $430,000, if that home were much more similar to ours, had the same bathroom count, had the same square footage and so forth, that house probably would have sold for $950,000, excuse me. So that's how we get to those bottom numbers. And it's done the same way for sale 2 and sale 3. Now, at the very bottom of the screen, you see that it's a yellow box. and it's showing the adjusted prices. Now, automatically, when the computer does the calculations, it assigns equal value to all three sales. What does that mean? That means if you have three sales, each sale gets 33% of the weight when they determine what the average sale price is. If you have four sales, they'll automatically get 25%. Now you have the ability to change that. Just above that yellow line, you'll see it says weight on each comparable sale. And you'll see it says 34, 33, and 33. If you felt that that first sale was your best argument, that's what makes your case, well, then you could change the weight on that one to 50 and then change the other two to 25 and 25. It's entirely up to you. So you do have options. So now that we've had those three sales and they've made the adjustments, we're going to click continue. And now you'll note that our sales locator is not an appraisal. It is not an opinion of value of your property by the Assessment Review Commission, and you have to acknowledge those things on the disclaimer before you proceed. So you're going to click I agree, proceed, and now you'll see the results for your selected sales. And it says the weighted adjusted sales price is $476,938. The range of adjusted sale prices is $467,955 up to $485,015. The average adjusted sales price is $477,028, and the taxable market value, which is what the value that the system has of your home, is $461,000. So you're being assessed right now at $461,000 as a market value, and your sales that you chose say that house is actually worth about $15,000 more, or $16,000 more, excuse me. So theoretically, this is saying your assessment is fair. However, just because these numbers say that you're being fairly assessed doesn't mean you chose the right sales, or even if you think the sales are right, you still have the right to go ahead and file a grievance anyway. So we're going to click continue to submit an appeal. All right, so now we're at the application. So you're going to click on your property type from the drop-down list to get to the application form. You're going to use form AR1, which is for value claims on a 1, 2, or 3 family home. That's the most popular, and you'll see the drop-down menu towards the middle of the screen. You're going to click and choose the AR1, and then the AR1 form is going to load. Now you'll see that automatically you should see your house, the photo of your house, as well as the address and the name that's on the roll. Now, before we get too much further, I want to let you know that when you use the sales locator, your comparable sales that you selected from sales locator, they're going to be automatically inserted into Part E. And you will also see that the weighted adjusted sales price of the comps you use automatically goes into Part B. Now you'll have a chance to change the number in Part B and change the sales in Part E manually, and we'll get to that. But I wanted to make sure you were aware that that goes in there automatically if you use a sales locator. One more thing to note. Question marks on the forms are your friends. If you are not sure what they are asking you on any particular line, if you see a blue question mark, if you hover your mouse over that blue question mark, not even click, just put the mouse over the question mark, you're going to see a yellow box pop up, and it's going to give you more of an explanation as to what they're looking for. So in this case, it's the taxpayer applicant's full name, and it's saying if you own the house, write your name. If you're filing for a relative who owns the house, write that person's name. A beneficiary of a trust who has use of the home is considered to be the owner, as is the holder of a life estate. And it continues on. So again, that gives you more information. And everywhere you see a question mark, you have the opportunity to get that information. Okay, so we look at Part A. It's got your parcel ID right there from the sales locator. And as we said, the photo, as well as the address and the name on the roll, are listed right there automatically as well because of a sales locator. Taxpayer applicant's full name is John Smith, automatically put in there, but you can add or change it if you need to. Property owners, if the taxpayer is not the sole owner, if you have a spouse. So it was a good idea to put your spouse on the application. Just so you are aware, the person who is the applicant has access to the form and can call and ask questions. If you did not put your spouse on the application and they want to call to get a question answered about your application customer service, Customer service can't answer their questions because they are not on the application. So please do us, do your spouse, do your family your favor, and please make sure you put your spouse on the application. In terms of form, most of you are going to choose individual as you see it's checked off there. If one of the options below that is appropriate, then choose that option. But for most of you, individual form is what you're going to use. Okay, we are now on Part B, and this is required. If you do not fill out Part B, your form will not go through. You have to do this. So, as you see from Sales Locator, it put in the applicant estimates and requests that the assessment be reduced based on full market value of, and that 476,938 is from Sales Locator. Now, if you feel that number is correct, you can leave it. If you feel that number is wrong, you're being assessed right now at $461,000. That's your market value. If you really feel that even though Sales Locator says your house is worth 476, 477, but your house is really 450, then erase that number that's there, type in 450. You have that option. Below that, it's going to ask you if the house has been offered for sale or is under contract. If the house is under contract, you would click yes. Or if it's been offered for sale, you can click yes and put the price in there. Later on, we will show you how you can add a copy of a contract or a listing to support what you've put down in this section. So, Part C, the easiest section to do, because the representative type for your appeal has been entered automatically. You do not have to do anything for Part C. All right. Part D. Part D is my favorite. Now, if you click on that pink display tab, you will open up the section for Part D so you can see all the options you have available. Now, Part D is optional. You can fill out as much or as little of Part D as you wish. It's a guideline designed to help you make your best case. Now, what do we mean by best case? If you look at Part D, there's information and questions that it asks. It asks whether you've done any construction on the home. It'll ask if you've expended the home. It'll ask if you have a tenant in there. It'll ask information about the home, kitchens, half bathrooms, full bathrooms, and so forth. The important information, what I feel will help you make or break your case, is towards the bottom of the section where it says, are any of these adjacent to or visible from your house? Now, why it's asking that? When it comes to the value of real estate, location, location, location means so much. And if you are on a very busy road, that may affect the value of your home. If you are back into a railroad, that may affect the value of a home in a negative way and cause your house to sell for less and be worth less. If you are close to commercial properties, or if you're by a park, but the park isn't well maintained, you need to look at all these options, determine whether any of these impact the value of your home. You would check the option. And then where it says other facts, you can elaborate. So say the first box is waterfront. Now, if you're on the South Shore, you're a waterfront house, and every time there's been a bad storm, your house gets flooded. Well, waterfront may not be a great thing for you. So you would check waterfront and other facts. Say, my house is on the South Shore, and ever since Sandy, my house floods every time it rains. Now, if you live on the North Shore and you don't have flooding problems, well, then waterfront may add value to your house. So that's why it's very important to not only check the box, but elaborate on why these things have or do not have any impact. You also have to realize that some things aren't as obvious. Many times, if you live on a busy street, a through street, there's a double yellow line. But that's not always the case. What if you live on a street that's between, say, Hempstead Turnpike and Merrick? I can't even remember if those are across from each other. But your house goes perpendicular between those. And when it's really busy day, people know that your street is a shortcut, and they cut through your street all the time. Well, your house technically isn't on a busy road because there's no double yellow line, but you know that based on your experience by living there, that a lot of people cut through your house and cut through your street, and it gets very crazy sometimes with traffic. Well, then, that's what you put in other facts to let us know. Something that may not be obvious to the people looking at your values and looking at your home, you know because you live there, you're your best advocate. So that's section D, very important. Again, it's optional, but I strongly recommend making your case in section D. Okay, part E, Again, this is optional. Now, if you did the sales locator, you'll see the 3 sales we chose are in this section already. And as you see, parcel ID, street address, sales date, sale price, and there's a section for comments. Now, you can add comments about these sales. Maybe you know that the house was totally gut renovated, and that's why it sold for that. Well, then you can put information. I saw a multiple listing, or I saw on Zillow, this house is all redone, and that's why it's selling for so much. It's good information to tell us. These homes here don't have to be used. Like I said before, you use these sales, but when you use them, they were saying perhaps that your house is worth more than you think it is. So on the left-hand side, you can see where it says delete parcel. If you decide at any point you don't want to use one of these sales to help you with your case, click on delete parcel, and that comparable sale will be taken out. Also, at the bottom, you'll see that there is room for you to add manually a sale. And what you'll need to do is the same thing you did when you were searching before to find your house. You'll click the search for the parcel ID. You'll put in the number and the street without the street or avenue and so forth, but just the name. You'll find that property. Now, you may find the sales information in a system, but if not, you'll come back, you'll add the sales date manually, you'll add the sale price manually, and then you can add comments. My friend is a realtor and gave it to me from MLS, whatever the case may be. Just remember, if you can't prove your case in 3 to 5 sales, putting 10 sales, in my opinion, is not really going to help your case. So, again, that's part E. Use it to your advantage, or if you feel it's not going to help you, don't use it at all. Okay, part F. We are almost done with this part. So you're going to enter the security code by retyping the letters in the text box. You see the text box in black. You're going to enter those same letters in the white box. You have to select the type of individual providing certification from a drop-down list. Most of the time, you're going to be the owner of record, but it could be someone filling it out for you. Maybe it's condo board of managers and so forth. So make sure you choose the correct signatory certification. Now, before you submit your application, read the certification statement. You're saying that everything in here is true to the best of your knowledge. And at the making of any willful false statements or material fact will subject me to the provisions of the penal law relevant to the making and filing of false instruments. So it's really important. Make sure everything in here is accurate to the best of your knowledge. Okay, once you're satisfied, you click Submit Application Form. Now, if you are missing anything or you made a mistake, the form will not let you submit. You'll see there'll be indications by red error messages. So you're going to review your application. So you'll see errors found in Part A below, errors found in Part B, appeal not submitted. So you'll see in Section A or Part A, you didn't put the taxpayer full name. You didn't choose the form. You have to go back and fill in the correct information. Also in B, we never put a value. Without a value, you cannot submit this application. So in each section, when you submit those changes and they're fine, you click on the right where it says Submit Changes. Once you've made all those changes and click Submit again, you will see your appeal has been submitted with the application. It'll give you an application number. Also, you will get an email. Again, it may not look exactly like this, but you will get an email from us confirming that your application has been submitted. Okay, so now that you've submitted your application, you can return to the home page, and if you're done, you could submit another appeal in the same manner, or you can view or add attachments to your appeal. What are the attachments? Well, if you have additional documentation, such as an appraisal, that'll further support your case for appeal, or if you need to submit an authorization form because you're not the property owner, you would click where it says View or Add Attachments. Now, you may also want to submit photos. If there's something across the street that looks really like an eyesore that's constantly the view from your home, you can take a photo and submit that as well. Note that the documents can be added and changes can be made to your online appeal up until the filing period closes. So remember, you only have access to make the changes yourself up until the end of the filing period. Okay, so we're going to click on View or Add Attachments. And you're going to click on Yes, so we would like to add one now. So we'll click Yes. Okay, now a pop-up window is going to appear. And don't forget, you cannot do attachments or add any attachments until you've submitted your application first. Okay, so we're going to click on Choose File. Click on Choose File. You're going to navigate to the attachment and double click on it. Be very careful that you're clicking on the right attachment and that you're sending us the correct information. Please be sure that you're sending us what you want to send us. Some people have things on the computer that's only for personal use. You want to make sure you're very careful about when you're sending us any information. So what you'll do is you'll double click on the file. You'll see a drop-down list and you'll see all these different options. It could be an appraisal report. It could be an authorization form. Maybe it's photos. Maybe it's another legal document. Whatever the case, choose it from the correct drop-down. If it's not listed there, you can choose other documents. Okay, and then when you're all set, you will click Submit Attachment, and it gets uploaded. Now you can delete the attachment if it's the wrong one. You could also add additional attachments using the same pop-up window, or you could return to the appeal form. Now, it's very important to know, like we said, in the event that you need to either add or delete an attachment after the filing period ends, you will need to mail any requested documentation to us. You cannot access your online application and make changes after the end of the filing period. And you see our address below, Assessment Review Commission, 240 Old Country Road, 5th floor, Mineola, New York, 11501, and it's Attention Residential Supervisor. So if you need to make any changes, if you need to have something added to your application or removed, you'd have to mail it in. Okay, so now after clicking Return to Appeal form, when all documentation for the appeal has been uploaded, you will see that your application has been received by ARC. Now, at this point, you can now click on the arrow home tab to go back to the home page, or click on the logout tab if you're all done. And anytime you want to go back and check your application, you can do so by on the left-hand side where you see says Appeal, Filing, Status, or Change tab. You can go there and review your application. Okay, so that is how we do it all when you are using Sales Locator. How about if you don't want to use Sales Locator? Because like we said, Section E is optional. You do not have to supply us comparable sales when you are appealing your value. So in order to file an appeal without using Sales Locator, you're going to click on the File and Appeal tab or click on the File and Appeal link. So either top left or bottom middle where you see number 2, either one of those links. Okay, so if you're filing an appeal without using Sales Locator, first you're going to use a drop down to choose most likely the AR1 form, same as before. And it'll choose a form. After we do that, we need to search for the parcel because unlike before when it was put in automatically from Sales Locator, we haven't taken that step of searching for a property. So like before, you're going to click on the magnifying glass under General Information Parcel ID. You're going to perform the property search the same way. House number, street, just the name of the street, nothing at the end of it, no street, no lane, no avenue. Again, town and zip, helpful. And then when it brings up your parcel after you choose search, you're going to click on the parcel ID, and it's going to insert that information right in for you. Again, address is there, name of the roll, and so forth. So a lot of this is going to be very similar to how we did it before. So I'm not going to go as slowly as I did for the first time around because a lot of this is the same exact way you did it for the first time with Sales Locator. Again, you need to put in the taxpayer applicant's full name. If you have a spouse, you want to put in their name, it's a good idea. Make sure you choose the form. Okay, again, B, now before, when you did this, Sales Locator brought in the value automatically. However, since you're not using Sales Locator, it's going to be blank. You need to put a value in there. Now remember, the value that you have a grievance about was $461,000. So obviously, if you're looking for a reduction, you're going to put something below that number. And again, the same question we asked before: is the property offered for sale or under contract? Answer it properly with a yes or a no and put the price in. And then, as we showed you about the attachments, there'll be a chance to put attachments at the end. Okay. Part C, like before, representative type is yourself because you are filling this out. It's already taken care of. Part D is the same way as before. You can click on display, open it up, and do as much or as little of this section as you can. It's entirely up to you. My opinion hasn't changed from 10 minutes ago when we talked about this. I think this is one of the best places to make your case. So take the time, look through, fill out the information, give them as much information as you can to help make your case. Okay. Part E is different this time because you didn't use sales locator. There are no sales in here. Now, again, this part is optional. If you know of sales and you want to enter them manually, like we showed you before, you click on the parcel ID, you search for the property, you enter the sales date, the sale price, and the comments. And then you could add multiple. As you add a sale in there, a new blank spot will open up beneath it, so you'll have room to add more. So I know you'll only see one here, but if you add a sale in there, when it goes through and you finish the comments and you accept it, another series of blanks will open up below you. So, all right. So we've done that. Part 4, same as before. You're going to put in the security code. You're going to click below about the signatory certification. You're going to read through the certification, make sure everything is true, and when you're all set, click Submit Application Form. Like before, if you make any mistakes, it's not going to let you submit the application. You have to go back, make these corrections where it's in red, taxpayer applicant's full name, the form type. Over in Part B, where it says that the market value is missing, you've got to enter all that in there before the form will be accepted. And if you get it all right, it'll go through. Now, I happened to peek and I saw one of the questions, which was, if I start the application, can it be saved and come back and finish at another time? You need to finish the application. You can always go back and make changes, but you have to complete the entire application, at least the basic sections A through F, and submit it and get a confirmation number. If you do not get that confirmation number, then it hasn't gone through, and you'll have to start all over again. So please make sure you give yourself a good 15 to 20 minutes, at least for your first time, to go through so you can at least fill out the basics and click submit, and then you can come back later and do more information, at least up until that March 1st date. So like before, if you get the application number confirmation, you should also get an email that'll give you the confirmation as well. Like we said before, if you have to make any changes, you would log into the system and you can appeal filing status change right on the left-hand side. You'd log back in. Now you're going to click on the application number for your appeal to see your submitted application. And note that you'll be able to filter your appeals on the screen by parcel ID, tax year, application number, appeal number, and so forth. So after entering your search criteria to find the right application, you click for search for appeals. We only have one in the system for this property right now, so that's what's showing up. See the application number right there. You're going to click on that. On the application page, you can edit the information you provided and confirm the new information was by clicking the Submit Changes button. So in case you wanted to go in there, like we see here, Part B, you put 460. Well, you've thought about it, maybe you've done some more research, and you really think your house is worth 425 now. So you erase the 460, you type in 425, and you click Submit Changes. And again, we're reminding you that changes and additions can only be made until the filing deadline. Okay, don't forget, on the application page, you can add additional documents by clicking on the Art Communications /Attachments, which is in the upper right corner, as you see on the screen. And then like before, you can upload the documents by clicking on Upload New Document and doing the same steps you did like before. To get everything in there, you choose the file, you click yes, you identify what kind of file it is, and you upload it, and then it's in the system. Also, you'll notice here at the bottom of the screen that we have the test from before. If you decide that is no longer required, that you don't need that, you can click and delete that file. If you don't think it's helping your case or you did it by mistake, click delete and it'll take that file out of your application. Okay. Now, say you made a mistake, you filed twice somehow by mistake, or you went with a firm or decided to go with a firm, whatever the case may be. You need to withdraw your appeal. Now, you have to understand that only one appeal can be filed per parcel, and you need to make sure there are no duplicates. They must be withdrawn from your application. Otherwise, your application will not be processed. You'll get a notice saying you have multiple appeals for the same parcel. Okay. Now, it's important to make sure you have pop-up blockers turned off if you're going to withdraw the appeal. Pop-up blockers mean that the little boxes that pop up on your screen when you click a button, sometimes it's set to not allow you to do that. And you can probably just Google search to find out how the browser you're using, whether it's Chrome or Safari or anything else, how to do that. So say we need to withdraw our application. So we're going to click on the left where it says withdraw appeal. Now you'll notice on the right side it said, warning, this action is irrevocable. That means if you delete this appeal, that's it. That appeal is gone. If you deleted it by mistake and that was the only one you have to redo your entire application. So be very sure. So read the words that they're asking you about the agreement. If you say, yes, I want to withdraw my appeal, you click on agree. And it tells you the application has been successfully withdrawn. Okay, so believe it or not, we are at the time to answer your questions. So I'm going to put a screen up here that has all the important information you know about contacting the Assessment Review Commission. It's got our website, it's got the customer service phone number, it's got our email address, it's got the office hours, filing period, and so forth. And also at the very end, we're going to have a something in the Q&A posted that will show you clickable links, how to contact us. But let's take a look and see what questions. And actually, before we do that, I believe we have someone else who's going to say a few words. So let me bring it into the conversation, Jeremy May, and Jeremy can introduce himself to you. And Jeremy, you're live.
Thank you very much, Rob, and good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jeremy May. I am the Assessment Review Commission's Vice Chairperson. I'm here to join Rob for the Q&A session, just to make sure that we get as much information out as we can and completely address the concerns that we can address. The very first one that we saw that I wanted to take a moment to touch upon were some questions and concerns about the Taxpayer Protection Plan. Here at the Assessment Review Commission, we are strictly limited to reviewing applications for the value of property. So we actually don't have a direct role to play in the Taxpayer Protection Plan and wouldn't be able to answer even general questions about how it is calculated or how it is applied. I would recommend that questions about the Taxpayer Protection Plan be directed to the county's Department of Assessment. A little bit later into the presentation or during the Q&A session, we can post links to the Department of Assessment's website. They do have 2 pages dedicated to the Taxpayer Protection Plan, and then even if the information contained there does not necessarily answer all of your questions, they do have contact information to reach their customer service and hopefully get you the answers that you're looking for. But that being said, we did see that we had quite a few questions from the audience, and Rob and I want to make sure that we take care of as many of those as possible. So Rob and I will be looking back over the questions that have been submitted, and we will do our best to answer those concerns. If you have additional questions during the session, Rob and I have plenty of time this afternoon. If you fear that we have missed your question, please, give us a chance. As Rob mentioned earlier, there is a 30-second delay between what we say in here and when it is transmitted live to you. One thing that I did hear Rob mention that I kind of wanted to, expand upon or clarify was duplicate filings. So Rob mentioned that here at the Assessment Review Commission, we can only, the word that he used was process 1 application per parcel. I just wanted to clarify that a little bit. Under the rules of our commission and under New York State law, the Assessment Review Commission can only review one application per parcel. And the reason for that is that if 3 or 4 or 5 applications are filed, we at the Assessment Review Commission don't necessarily know which one is, for lack of a better one, the correct one, which one was filed by the property owner and which one the property owner wants us to act upon. Regrettably, in the past, we have seen instances where, perhaps a husband signs on with one firm, a wife signs on with a second firm, and neither of them quite remember that at the very beginning of the process, they filed their own application, and all of a sudden, ARC is looking at 3 applications. Well, which is the one that we should be working on? We can't make that determination ourselves, so that's why Rob went through the steps to allow you to withdraw the ones that you wish to withdraw. If you do have a representative that you wish to actually use to represent you, I would actually recommend that you contact them and inform them that you have multiple applications, that you are going to be working with them, and that you request that they reach out to the Assessment Review Commission to get those duplicate applications cleared up, because it would be very unfortunate at the end of our review period if we were not able to issue a determination because of that technicality. But it is New York law, and ARC does follow it. So please do protect yourselves in that regard and try to be aware of the applications that you have filed and keep it down to that one application so we can complete our review formally and give you a determination. So that being said, Rob, let's start looking at the Q&A and seeing...
Actually, Jeremy, there's a question I'd like you to answer because you're probably in a better position to do that. A few questions about why sales locator does not work for condos.
Unfortunately, I don't have an answer to that question immediately at my disposal. The sales locator is loaded with sales data compiled by the Department of Assessment. As I sit here, I don't know the reason that they don't necessarily use condo sales, but that's certainly something that I can look into and we can get an answer to. But unfortunately, I don't know.
Okay. I see we have a question about the interior of the house and how much that affects why it's used to determine the price when it's being sold, but not the assessed value. And they say, I've been told by the assessment department that the condition of the home is not considered in the assessed value. For example, I told them all my planches are very old, roof leaks, etc. I'm shortening this up a little bit here. And they told me that only consider neighborhood, square footage, and school district in the assessment. So why is a completely new house inside considered for an increase in price? Actually, when we look at sales, if your home is, say, built in 1950, it more than likely would be compared to a new house. We compare your home to homes that are similar to yours. So if your home was built in 1950 and it's in a colonial and it's about 2,000 square foot, we're going to do our best to find homes that are similar to yours in those characteristics. Now, sometimes in your neighborhood, there have not been sales similar to yours, and sometimes we have to look at different sales and then adjust, kind of like you saw how in the sales locator, there were adjustments made for conditions. But in terms of an older home being compared with a new construction home, that's not typically how it gets done because it's basically 2 markets. I mean, someone who's looking to buy a new construction home typically isn't looking at a home that's 70 years old. So let's see here. Should you submit pictures of houses near your property that look different on the pictures on ARC that could help your case? If you see that, there is no reason you cannot submit that. You can't submit it. Again, if we have a house in our records as a ranch and it's really a colonial, and you could show us that by a photo, then that's one more piece of the puzzle for us to do our investigating for. So information is always good. Let's see here. If your house is in a trust, can you still do this? Jeremy, you want to take that one?
Sure, and the very short answer is yes. If your home is in a trust, and I don't want to get too in the weeds because the very short answer is yes, and that should be the takeaway. That yes, you can absolutely do it. It just might be a question of whether you are listing yourself as a trustee of your own trust, but you shouldn't let that concern trip you up. You fill out the application to the best of your knowledge. If you are the trustee of your own trust, that's rather simple. You just basically still list yourself. If you've designated somebody else as your trustee, you might need to get them to submit the application, and then they may need to get an authorization filled out. But yes, the short answer is yes. If your home is in the formal name of a trust, you can absolutely file with the Assessment Review Commission.
Okay, thank you for answering that. Let's see here. Is there a place to look at house values in your area before you start the appeal process in ARC? Absolutely. Realtor.com. If you know a realtor or someone who has access to multiple listing, you can look there. Zillow, you can look there as well. There are multiple sources out there. You could even Google and you'll find some information. Sales Locator is not a requirement. It's here as a tool to help you do your research. But if you feel better using something else or you want to use in addition to, that's entirely up to you. But like I said, there's plenty of options on the internet that are free that you could look at and do some research. Let's see.
Rob, while we've been talking, we got some information from our team in regards to the question regarding some condos. We are being informed that the sales locator is currently only set up for single-family homes. The data is not loaded for condos, and in particular, condos can either be in Class 1 residential or in Class 2. We can certainly look into the possibility of asking that the sales locator be upgraded or expanded to include condos, but that is the information that we are receiving, that right now the sales locator is only for single-family homes. You don't need to be restricted to the sales locator if your property is a condo. There are other sources of information to try and find recent sales for condos, whether that, I think, Rob, we were just mentioning Realtor.com or Zillow or other private services like that. Maybe if you have a local realtor, they are typically very amenable to speaking with potential clients because they know that if they can assist you and make you happy in a situation where you're trying to file an ARC application, that you might remember them and, you know, perhaps seek to retain their services if you choose to sell that property or, you know, upgrade or, you know, move or what have you. So hopefully that is a little more helpful than I don't know. But that was the information that we received. Thanks, Rob.
Sure. Okay. Very popular question. If the assessed value is decreased, then will the taxes decrease as well? And the answer is, it depends. Truthfully.
Very good lawyer answer, Rob. I approve.
Obviously, you want your assessed value to be lower. It's always better if your assessed value is lower than from what it was. But again, we're dealing with the assessed value, with market value and assessed value. Taxes are determined a lot by your school district and by the town and by the county and so forth. And what happens with your taxes is it depends on what happens with the rates that are determined by the municipalities. So it's tough to tell you that you will guaranteed, we can never say you'll be guaranteed to get a decrease in your taxes if you get a decrease in your assessed value. That being said, it's always better to go down. So it's always a positive to have your assessed value lowered. But again, there's no guarantee that if you have your assessed value lowered, that it will automatically result in a decrease in your taxes. Let's see here. Looking through all these lots of questions here. Let's see. Forgive me as I'm looking through this.
Rob, while you're looking for one, I see one that I can take. So
Sure.
we have a question about whether or not this presentation is recorded so that it can be shared with some other folks when they're actually available. Some folks are working and can't watch it too in the afternoon. We actually have another tutorial video available on our homepage as askarkansas.com. It's a much shorter video. It's about 5 minutes, but it has basically the same information that we presented here today, and you can watch that as many times as you like. In fact, you can have it running while you're filling out the application if that assists you.
Okay, let's see here. Am I supposed to be looking for homes that were sold for less than mine, having the same dwelling size? Yes, that is actually one of the main concepts you're looking for in terms of choosing comparable sales to support the fact that you feel that you've been overassessed. So you're trying to find homes that are most similar to yours. Now, in some cases, you may not find the exact same house of yours, or you may not find the same style. You may be your house may be a colonial, and almost all the other homes in the area are capes, and no colonials have sold. So in that case, you may have to use capes and just try to find ones that are similar in room count, ones that are similar in square footage, in lot size. The idea is the principle behind finding sales is this: if you were selling your home and a person wanted to buy your home and then found out your home was not available, what other homes would they look at, say, well, I can't get George Smith's home because they already sold, but I see this house and it's very similar to it. So if I can't get this one, I'll go for this one. That's the mentality behind looking for comparable sales. That's what it means. You're looking for sales that are similar, that if a person couldn't buy your home, they would maybe buy the other one. And that's the concept behind it. So that's what you're looking for. And again, you're not always going to find the perfect comparable. You're not going to find always, you have a cape that's 1,500 square feet with 2 bathrooms. You may not find another cape that's 1,500 square feet with 2 bathrooms. So you do the best you can. Let's see what else we have over here. I thought I saw a new one come in. Let's see here.
Here's one, Rob. What is the
Thank you.
difference between land value and total value? So your assessment is broken up into 2 portions, land value and total value, and it really is self-describing, kind of. Your property is made up of a piece of land and the structure that's sitting on top of it. So the county's Department of Assessment will estimate what the value of the 4 corners of your lot is as far as the value of the land, and then they will combine that with the value of the house or other structure sitting on top of it to come up with that total value. So as far as your total assessment, you want to be most concerned with the total value, because that is what your taxes are ultimately calculated from. However, if you're looking at your assessment and you're scratching your head because you think that there is some sort of disparity between the land value and total value, you can basically raise that concern in an application with the Assessment Review Commission. You can inform us that you disagree with the land value that the department applied, and if the land value is lower, then therefore your total value should also be lower, for way of instance, not to... Go ahead, Rob.
Okay.
We have another one.
Yeah, I see there's a question. Explain some of the other details for exteriors, like wooden steps, stop sign in front of railroad. Okay, so this is probably more to do with that section D. And I know somebody asked, is it worth filling out, even if it's optional? And like I said, I think section D, part D, is your bread and butter. This is where you can really make your case. And in fact, we can go back and take a look at that real fast, I think. Let's see here. We're going to go back real fast. Ta-da, section D. Oops. There we go. All right. And again, section D is great to really make your case. And some of these are not as obvious as you may think. If you have a golf course by your house, some people love having the golf course views. It's beautiful. You look at it on the green and it's wonderful. Other folks may say golf is guys walking around in silly pants and making a lot of noise and hitting the ball and, whatever. And that may not be a good thing for your home value. It depends. Everything is subjective. It truly is. I mentioned before about thinking about the railroad, that if you have the railroad noise, perhaps that's going to be an adverse impact on the value of your home. What if you're in an area where people commute a lot, and it's really convenient that instead of having to drive to the train station, they can just walk a block or 2 and they get on the train. That might be a positive thing. So you really need to not just check one of those boxes, but explain why and how you think it has an impact on value. And by the way, there is a checkbox that says other and it's blank. If something about your house or about the area is not included on that list, add your own. I think we may have covered all the questions. I'm trying to see if I missed anything.
We're going to double check, but we don't have to run away immediately. So while we are double checking our questions, if you are concerned that we didn't get to one of yours, you should probably just go ahead and repost it to make sure that we definitely see it. And in the meantime, Rob and I will scroll through the chat and make sure that we have covered everything that we can.
I also want to remind everybody that in the Q&A section, we posted an announcement that has basically all the information that's on the slide on the screen, and it actually has links. So it has our website, it has our hours and our phone number, it has a link to click on so you can email the office. It has the link that has that brochure that I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation that has all the important dates. There's a link for that. Also, if you need to contact Department of Assessment, and again, the reason to contact Department of Assessment would be if there's any mistakes in the system in terms of what they have for your inventory as compared to what there really is. To explain again, if Department of Assessment says you have 3 bathrooms and 2 kitchens, and you only have 1 bathroom and 1 kitchen, well, then you need to contact Department of Assessment and speak to them and let them know that their information is incorrect. Now, they may end up sending somebody down, especially if it's an interior characteristic about your home. They may have somebody come in and do an inspection in order to show, for you to show them that there is, in fact, only 1 bathroom and only 1 kitchen. But again, if they have too much information in terms of if they have more than you actually have, if they have 3 baths and you only have 1, it's in your best interest to reach out to them and let them know that their information is wrong, because you're being assessed for bathrooms or extra kitchens or whatever the case may be that you don't have. And again, their phone number and a link to contact them on the web is included in that information we published on the Q&A.
I did see that we had someone who posted another question. They may have been concerned that we missed it. And the question is there a place to look at house values in your area before you start the appeal process? And yes, I would recommend that you take a look at our sales locator. That is the tool that Rob spoke about when he did the first part of the presentation. And you don't need to file an appeal with ARC to use the sales locator. That is a public tool that's just available to look at. And you can research sales with that tool as much as you like before you ever decide whether or not to file an application with ARC. That is the tool that we have available on our website as a resource for you to use. If you wanted to try other resources, you might try, some of those realty sites like realtor.com or Zillow, and just try punching in your property and seeing, what comes up. But the sales locator is absolutely available and free to use without the need to file an application with ARC.
Thank you, Jeremy. I also want to point out that in addition to posting the links for the information for ARC as well as for the assessment review, assessment department, we also posted a link. It's a FAQ, a frequently asked questions about the TPP, that you could click on the link. It's in the Q&A as well. We posted it there. Again, if you have any questions, that may be a great place to get those answers. It's called an FAQ, a FAQ. It's answer frequently asked questions, and you can click on that link and it'll hopefully answer some of the questions about the TPP.
Okay. And if for whatever reason we didn't get to your question here today, though I do think that we got to everybody, or the second that we close out this presentation, you kick yourself a little bit because there was something that you thought of, you can reach out to our customer service team. We have also posted some information about how to contact us outside of this event, and we absolutely hope that you take advantage of that as necessary. And we hope that this was helpful and that we have taken care of your concerns. So all that being said, Rob and I thank you very much, and I thank our team behind the scenes who have been assisting us, and Legislator Ferretti for inviting you, his constituents, to join us today. So all that being said, I think that's, have a good day, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining us, folks. Have a good afternoon.